outside his apartment, mingling with the occasional laughter from a nearby cafe. He had been looking forward to this blind date for weeks. His best friend, Mark, had insisted that it was time for him to step back into the world of dating after years of single fatherhood. Ever since his wife had passed away 5 years ago, James had poured himself into raising his son, Ethan, who was now 9, leaving almost no room for himself. But tonight, he had told himself, he deserved a chance to feel alive again. The table at the small, cozy restaurant was already reserved in his name. A single candle flickered, casting a warm glow on the polished wooden surface. James imagined her sitting across from him, maybe smiling nervously, maybe laughing at something silly he said. But just as he grabbed his keys to leave, his phone buzzed. A message, not from the woman he was about to meet, but from someone else entirely, a woman screaming for help. The voice on the other end of the call was frantic. A car had crashed on the side of the road, and a woman trapped inside needed assistance. James's heart sank for a moment. He glanced toward the restaurant, where his evening of potential romance awaited, then toward the flashing lights outside, where a real human being needed him. He knew what he had to do. Love and dates were important, yes, but life and humanity, they mattered more. Grabbing his coat, he raced outside, adrenaline surging. The accident wasn't far, just a few blocks away. He could see the crumpled car wedged between a streetlight and a fence, the driver's side door barely hanging on its hinges. The woman inside was shaking, her face streaked with blood and tears, the smell of gasoline thick in the air. Without hesitation, James climbed in, unbuckled her seatbelt, and carefully guided her out. Paramedics arrived moments later, but James stayed until they assured him that she was stable. Only then did he notice the time. He had missed his date entirely. His phone was filled with missed calls and texts, and a small pang of regret hit him. The woman he might have met tonight, someone who could have shared his heart, had waited for him, and yet he had chosen to help someone else. He returned home, exhausted and emotionally drained. Ethan already asleep upstairs. James sat on the couch, rubbing his face, wondering if he had made a mistake. Maybe the universe had sent him a sign, a test of priorities. Maybe it was simply bad timing. He lay down on the couch, staring at the ceiling, questioning whether he had sacrificed too much for the right cause. The next morning, the sun filtered through the blinds, casting warm stripes across the living room floor. James was sipping his coffee when a deep, resonant noise shook the air. At first he thought it was thunder, but the sky was clear. Looking out the window, his jaw dropped. A helicopter was descending, its blades churning the air violently. Dust and leaves swirled around his yard. It was an unusual sight in a quiet suburban neighborhood. He scrambled outside, shielding his eyes as the helicopter landed with precision. The door opened, and a well-dressed woman stepped out, her hair perfectly in place despite the rotor wind. She held a briefcase in one hand and wore an expression of determination. James felt a strange mix of fear, curiosity, and disbelief. "Mr. James Walker?" the woman called, her voice crisp and commanding. "I believe you helped someone yesterday who needed you. Your actions did not go unnoticed." James blinked, unsure of how to respond. I just did what anyone would do." The woman smiled slightly. "Not everyone does, Mr. Walker. What you did yesterday could have saved a life. And it caught the attention of people who can make a difference in your life, too." James's heart raced. What kind of difference? And why come here like this with a helicopter? He had never imagined that a simple act of kindness could spiral into something so extraordinary. "Please," she continued, "come with me. There's someone you need to meet, someone whose life you helped change." James hesitated, glancing back at his house, his son sleeping upstairs, oblivious to the storm of excitement and uncertainty about to enter their lives. Yet deep down he knew he could not ignore this. He had always believed that life had a way of rewarding courage and compassion, and perhaps this was that reward. As the helicopter lifted him off the ground and into the open sky, the city shrinking below, James wondered if this was the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter where helping others might not just change their lives, but his own as well. And as the blades whirred, he made a silent promise. No matter what awaited him, he would never lose sight of what truly mattered. And as he stared out the window at the clouds rushing by, a voice inside him whispered, "Sometimes, the right choice doesn't feel convenient, but it always leads to the extraordinary." James's heart pounded as the helicopter touched down on a private estate, surrounded by sprawling gardens and sparkling fountains. The woman who had called him Mr. Walker led him inside a grand hall, filled with people in professional attire, their eyes full of admiration. Confused, James asked, What is all this? She smiled. Yesterday you saved a life. That woman you helped, she's the daughter of one of the world's leading philanthropists. Your courage and selflessness have inspired them. They want to offer you an opportunity to make a difference. And to finally take care of yourself, too. Before he could respond, a gentle voice called out, James? A woman approached, smiling warmly. It was the same woman from the accident. She hugged him, whispering thanks he couldn't imagine hearing enough of. Then the philanthropist's daughter stepped forward, offering him a position to work on global humanitarian projects that could change lives and bring him recognition he never sought. But more than the career or the accolades, James realized the real reward, the chance to teach Ethan the importance of kindness, courage, and putting others first. That night, as he returned home, helicopter still echoing in his mind, he held his son close and smiled. Sometimes doing the right thing means missing a date, facing uncertainty, and stepping into the unknown. But in the end, life has a way of rewarding the brave, the selfless, and the compassionate. And for James, that single decision, choosing to help someone instead of thinking of himself, opened doors he had never dreamed possible. As James looked at the stars that night, he whispered, Life always comes full circle, and sometimes the universe answers in the most incredible ways.